Good evening. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Jim Westbrook, and I have the distinct pleasure tonight of introducing a most deserving recipient of the Hall of Fame Award. Damian's being inducted tonight into the Hall of Fame for his contributions to the growth of lacrosse as both coach and official. I first met Damian in 1998 when I moved down here, and he was the coach of Westminster at that time. He started that program in 1995, and in addition to coaching at Westminster when he was coaching the middle school or the JV team, he started to officiate. He's officiated for 11 seasons and is currently the president of the Georgia Lacrosse Officials Association. Damian has received many honors for both coaching and officiating. In 1997, he was named the Georgia Lacrosse Coach of the Year. In 2003, Westminster recognized him as the father of lacrosse at Westminster. He's a past recipient of the Georgia Lacrosse Man of the Year. And in 2012, he was named the Georgia Athletic Official Association's Official of the Year. And that's the GAOA. That's the statewide association of all officiating organizations. In addition to that, he's been a past recipient of the Ron Melanie Award, which the officials give out every year to the person that they recognize as the best official in their association. With Damian, you know, Mike brought it up earlier about the 15-0 game. Well, there's a guy with 15, there's a guy with 0. Now, I've been on the receiving ends of more of those beatdowns than I care to admit, you know, or acknowledge. It's tough, but Damian, you know, Damian just kind of, you know, low-key, Damian, no big deal. It's kind of funny, I was refereeing that game, we had a 4-man crew. Now, anybody that's seen lacrosse on TV or is watching in person, you know one thing that'll kill a game is you got too many calls, too many officiating, too officious, I guess is the word. So, I remember doing that game and coming through the box, and you got the girls that are working the table, and they're talking to the CBO, and they're asking them all these very articulate questions. I walk away from that game going, every time I'm in that box, these girls from Westminster are asking a rules question to the CBO that I had to think about before I could answer it. So I asked him about something later. He goes, well, you know, I was a little worried about the 4th guy in the crew making too many calls and kind of gumming up the game and keeping it going. So he had scripted 30 or so questions. And then, again, these were tough questions, so it comes to a good friend here to think a little bit. But as I mentioned, Damian has been the recipient of many awards. All these are certainly well-deserved, but you know, the characteristic that strikes me as most prevalent with Damian is just his selfless nature. As I mentioned, when I moved to Atlanta in 1997, first met Damian in 1998, there weren't many teams 4 or 5 at the time. In the officials organization, which I was starting to grow, or trying to grow with a bunch of people, we were struggling for just meeting space and just, you know, the nuances of getting, you know, rules clinic stuff. And Damian was kind enough at that point in time to stay late after school. I mean, really, because we'd be there at 7 till about 9. He'd be there grading papers, no big deal. We'd say thanks every night. Say, yeah, don't worry about it, anytime. And you know that Westminster has been gracious enough over the years to continue to offer up that meeting space to the association. And I think that's just a heck of a thing that they've done that Damian started years ago. Damian's a charter member of the Georgia Lacrosse Officials Association, and he served in many numerous roles, including treasurer, vice president, and now he's president. He was a driving force, and I believe it was 2005 we lost our good friend Ron Melanie. Ron was just a great guy. Those of you who met him, I think, you know, your lives, certainly if you feel like I do, are better off for having known him for just a brief period of time. But you know, Damian has continued as the president of the GLOA to foster that award into its current state, where now, in this past year, in 2012, 10 camp scholarships were given out to kids in Georgia. Most of them, a lot of them, couldn't afford it if that award wasn't there. So it gives me great pleasure. I'm very proud to be able to introduce to you Damian Kavanagh.
Jim, thanks for that. I thought we agreed you were not going to tell that story. I'm not going to be wrong about that. I was in Memphis not too long ago, and I was there for some business for a couple days, and I was in the hotel, and there were all these college-age kids running around with a crimson H on their shirt for Harvard. And I was in the elevator, and there was a woman in the elevator with me who's a little older than I was, had a Harvard shirt on. So I said, well, I want to find out what's going on here. Why are all these kids running around? And I said, you know, what's here? And she said, well, it's the Harvard basketball team here to play some of the local teams in Memphis. I said, oh, that's neat, that's neat. And so then I asked her, so do you have a player on the team, someone on the team with you? And she said, well, actually, I'm the coach's wife. And I said, I can tell you for sure you're an angel, because I coached for a while, and I know my wife's an utter angel. So like everyone else, I want to thank my wife for what she has done in the sport. We've got this great picture from my children are here as well. We've got this great picture, a little black and white picture. Dave didn't take it, I don't think, but it was good nonetheless, of my son being held when he was a baby on someone's shoulder. And there's a great silhouette of his face, and you can see the back of someone's head with a ponytail. The irony is it's not my wife, because in those days it was, you know, who's going to hold the baby next? And so the parents who were there certainly deserve a lot of credit for the help, because there has been a lot of help along the way, including the athletic directors at Westminster, who mostly helped support the program and get it going, and to those early folks like Bob Ward, who I don't know if many of you know it. I know JD knows him pretty well, but really a force somewhat to be reckoned with and to be overcome. But once he got on board with lacrosse, it was pretty much smooth sailing, pretty much. Rusty Hudson, who came after him, and Jay Watts, who's been mentioned numerous times, my former colleague when I was at Westminster, certainly a tremendous force in lacrosse. Back then, like most programs, we didn't have any equipment. So there was a program that had recently, was just in play for 1 year, Brandon Hall. And we got permission from the president of the school at Westminster, some of his money from one of his accounts, to go and buy out all their equipment so that we had stuff to actually play with. And so that's one of those many, many legacies that actually continues. And by the way, there was a program at lacrosse in the 70s. There was a program at Westminster in the 70s that lasted for 3 years. So we are the next generation, if you include the 1700s, I suppose. But the other parents who were unbelievably supportive are also here in the room. The Banquet family, unbelievably supportive of Westminster lacrosse. And JD and Pat Humphreys, who have also been honored before. And I'll tell you something else, Jeff Berlin, another statistic you might not have known, as proud as I know he is of his daughter, his son is actually the very first recipient of a varsity letter in lacrosse from Westminster. So I thought I'd share that as well. So many mentors when I transitioned over to the refereeing side, including Ron Maloney, Jim Westbrook, Bob Jackson, Kevin Moore, Pete Fleury. I know how much you love Pete Fleury. Landon Hunsucker, and another recipient tonight, Patrick Joyce. And finally, and another group that I really like to call attention to is this really, I find, remarkable group of inductees that I'm privileged to be with tonight. Dave Farrelletto and I go way back. Don and I go way back. I can't remember, Don, but I think I was able to do the first game on your field, and I think that we did that. Jeff and I were able to do that first game on your field. So another great connection. And Veronica, whom I've known for quite a while and just been very, very proud to have as a friend and a colleague. There are some other things I'm proud of. I'm really proud of the Westminster program and where it is today. I am especially proud, as Jim is, of the Ron Maloney Fund that we set up. And we commemorate Ron in a number of ways. This is we have a coin that we flip before every game, and we have an association coin. One side of it is our logo, and the other side is actually a silhouette of Ron. It's an image that we use, and it's on our coin. Now, which side's the head, which side's the tail, it doesn't matter. It comes up one side or the other when you flip it. That fund, as we just heard, has been able to support numerous players and athletes to go to camps. We also have another fund named for Kevin Moore, who also passed away way too early. And that's a fund that sponsors referees, our own referees, to go to training clinics, Laredos, and a variety of things. I'm really proud of the current 79 Georgia high school schools that are participating in varsity athletics. I'm very proud of the relationship we have with the GHSA. Although it certainly had a rocky start, it's been smoothed out quite a bit because of the dedication of lots and lots of people, not the least of which is Jay Watts. I'm very proud of the 20 or so, or 25 or so high school club teams in the NGLL that we're working with, the 43 middle school programs that we're working with, and the scores and scores of youth and rec programs that are around. I'm very proud of the hundreds of players that I've been privileged to coach. JD caught me up on some of the kids from his child's class, and that's great. And another one of my former players that lives in my neighborhood, just been able to keep up with for a long, long time. It's a great bond that lasts a very long time. I'm very proud of the hundreds of games that I have refereed. Lambert, I'm pretty sure that I refed your championship last year. I hope we did okay. I think you all did okay. I think we did fun. I just want to leave you with some of the lessons that I've learned and taken away from lacrosse that are absolutely applicable both in the game and in life. Look up and see the whole field. Make the extra pass. Play like a champion. And referee like it's the championship. Thank you very much for this honor.